Ali Vaiz is the Iran project director of the International Crisis Group, which works to prevent wars and shape policies for peace. He joins us live now from Washington. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us. What changes now for Iran, its government and its people when the US Treasury Department reimposes sanctions tomorrow?
Well, look, without any doubt, there will be a significant blow to the Iranian economy because about 50% of Iran's oil exports would be lost. And given the fact that almost 80% of the government's hard currency revenue comes from its oil exports, is going to send the Iranian economy probably into recession as of next year, and it's going to jack up inflation and unemployment. And so it's going to be devastating for the economy. But I doubt that it would bring about economic collapse.
I mean, this was obviously a deal that was struck with the international community, not just with the United States. Iran is counting on political support from the other signatories to the JCPOA. But what might the response be from Tehran now?
Look, I think the Iranians are still going to wait to see what the other signatories of the deal have to offer, whether the lifeline that the Europeans have been working on, along with the Russians and the Chinese, would be economically significant enough. It's still a question that the Iranians are asking. I think politically they do appreciate the efforts of the remaining signatories to the deal, but the question is whether economically it would really have an impact on the ground. And that's what will eventually inform their decision about whether they want to remain in the nuclear deal or not. My fear is if the Trump administration sanctions are as effective as the White House is hoping for, then the Iranians would either decide to revive their nuclear program or that they would decide to retaliate against the U.S. in the region by going after U.S. assets and forces, which will only add more fuel to the fires that are already burning throughout the region.
And so, following on from that point, how closely do you think the Iranians are watching the U.S. midterm elections as an indication of whether the Trump presidency will survive into a second term?
They are watching it very closely. But, you know, the question is, even if the Democrats take over the House or if the numbers in the Senate change, that doesn't necessarily tell us much about the sustainability of Trumpism as a phenomenon in this country. And, you know, even if there is a Democratic president who promises to recommit the U.S. to the JCPOA and will come back to the deal in 2021, that doesn't necessarily mean that the nuclear deal will be stable. In 2021, we're only 2 years away from some of the restrictions in the deal starting to fade away. And I think political opposition in Washington will be very high and will make it very difficult to sustain the deal until and unless there is more progress on the broader context of enmity between the two countries.
Thank you very much, Ali Vaiz. Appreciate your thoughts and analysis on this story. Ali Vaiz from the International Crisis Group joining us from Washington.
My pleasure.